I love the fact that he picked up the phone and called his friends on the editorial board of the Orange County Register, just as readily as I could pick up the phone and do the same with my local paper. And sure enough, within 2 days, we had a very supportive editorial from one of the most conservative newspapers in the state. Again, because of their libertarian streak and their understanding that this is not where we need government messing with state law. And so we had a great time advocating for the bill. And I think the first time around, he was not able to pick up a single additional Republican vote from his caucus on the Assembly side. So you can imagine the kind of opposition he was getting from his own colleagues. And I was told, you know, they go to their own Republican caucus meetings, and they would razz him like sixth-grade boys. You know, it's just torturing him for partnering with that crazy faggot from San Francisco. And when the bill passed on party line vote with Chuck DeVore and got to the Senate, there were a few additional Republican senators who did vote for the bill. And so we're picking up a little steam. We got it to the governor's desk. Unfortunately, he vetoed it. We came back a second time. And we picked up even more Republican support on the Assembly side. I think 3 or 4 more Republicans. And then, so you can see that the resistance is beginning to melt. And I was talking to another very far-right Republican colleague of mine who represents an area to the north of Sacramento, who was a rice farmer. And he was always had an interest in what we were doing. And he's a seatmate of Chuck DeVore, so he was getting all the proper information from Chuck. But as we were ending session this year, he told me that he thinks he's prepared to vote for it next time around as well. You know, I like to give the benefit of the doubt to most folks. And so I was critical of Arnold Schwarzenegger when he first came into office, and really didn't think he was quite prepared or qualified to do the job. But see him in action over so many years, and he's talking seemingly fluently on any number of subjects, and I begin to think, yeah, I think the guy knows what he's doing. I don't agree with it, but I guess he knows what he's doing. He was on an MTV episode of Pimp My Ride. Did anyone see this? Yeah, he did a Pimp My Ride, and they have all these cars done up and rebuilt inside and out. And there was this one car where the owner was giving a tour to the governor, and with some pride told him that the entire interior was made from industrial hemp. It was all biodegradable, and as he said the word, you could see on camera the governor recoiled. And the governor then said, with some pride on his face, "I signed the bill that outlawed that stuff." And I thought, oh my God, did we fail? He doesn't even know that he vetoed the bill that would have allowed for it to be grown. He just doesn't have a clue. And you forget he's reading off the script most of the time. Really didn't understand. So that's I consider that our lacking, that we, after so much work on this bill, the guy who's vetoed it a couple of times really didn't understand what he was doing. So we'll be back again because we need to. We need to continue to keep the issue alive. And I think as water shortage becomes an ever greater crisis in California, and we can only count on it, the idea that we would not only not be encouraging our farmers to be growing drought-resistant plants that have wide variety of uses, but actually continue to prohibit farmers from growing those very crops, just becomes ever more clearly madness. And so I think it's important that we continue to raise consciousness, continue to increase the number of Republican votes for this, and get a better understanding in the governor's office. So maybe he will sign this bill before he's out in 2010. Beyond that, I'm very hopeful that when we do elect a Democratic governor in 2010 here in California, that governor will sign it into law. And I think we'll begin to see other states following, because this is a potentially untapped market. It's already a nearly $300 million a year industry in this country, growing by more than 10% every year. And this is when it's illegal for it even to be grown here. And so we know from any number of California manufacturers of hemp products that they weren't dependent upon the weather patterns of Canada, so they don't know exactly how much supply they will get of the crop in any one season, that if they knew there was a dependable stream here in California, they're prepared to start building factories in Bakersfield to process all of the hemp seed oil and other many uses of this. And you can begin to imagine then someone comes in with the entrepreneurial spirit and hemp becomes not only the next soy, but whatever else, it would be the hot product. And again, with the greening of our economy and the greening of our lives, knowing that we have to be sustainable in all of our uses of products, that to have something that is biodegradable. Do you know there are currently over 3 million automobiles on the highways here in the United States which have inner door panels of the car doors made no longer from fiberglass, but from industrial hemp. And so that's current. Now, hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland in Europe is being used specifically for that one purpose, for the car door panels that are selling and being used more and more often now. So hemp's got a big future. I would suggest buy low, because this is something that's going to go up. But it'd be fun to be a part of that change. And then the only other thing I just want to share with you, and Dale appropriately made mention of it, there was a very unfortunate Supreme Court decision a couple years back here in California, which stated not so much that Prop 15 didn't protect workers' employment rights, but that there was an uncertainty, not even so much ambiguity, but a lack of clarity in that state law, which of course was passed by the voters in 1996. And they said that the legislature should clarify that uncertainty. And the story was a fellow named Gary Ross, who was working for a high-tech company called Raging Waters. Now,
Raging Wire.
Wire, thank you. Stand corrected. Raging Waters is a favorite water park of mine. Raging Wire. And Gary Ross had served in the military and had sustained a very serious back injury as a result of his military duty. So he was on disability, no prescription drug that his doctor could provide, no opiate, nothing. Eased the pain and stopped the spasms that he was experiencing with his back. And this was going on from around the mid-1980s to the mid-1990s. He was a young man, just in his late 20s at the time. And his life was just frozen as a result of his injury. And so after voters supported Prop 215 in 1996, some friends of his asked if he'd ever tried medical marijuana. He'd never tried marijuana at all. And so he went to a doctor, he got the doctor's recommendation, and he tried it. And surprise, surprise, the spasms stopped overnight, and he could get on with his life. His life had been turned around and saved as a result. And he was subsequently hired by Raging well in his employment. In fact, he'd just gotten a promotion. Everything was going just fine. And then in a random drug test, he tested positive for marijuana, though he had told his employer that he was using per Prop 215 with a physician's recommendation. And for that reason and that reason alone, he was fired. Because of his medical cannabis status, he was fired from his job, not for cause, not for any problem of his employment. And so, of course, Gary thought this was rather unfair and challenged the court, took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and lost. But again, it was the High Court telling us, legislature, do your job, give the court and give the state law some direction. And that's exactly what our bill did. It would prohibit an employer from firing an employee merely due to that employee's medical cannabis status. It would not interfere with an employer's ability to fire for cause. It's already illegal for state law to use on the job or to smoke on the premises of your employment. So that wouldn't change. And it wouldn't change anybody's opportunity to drug test. And we even exempted from this protection anyone in a safety-sensitive position. So those who are operating heavy machinery or driving a truck. In any way, law enforcement that would be considered safety position. We didn't have to identify all the safety-sensitive positions. We took it verbatim from federal law.